Good day, world. This is Maria Liberati, and welcome to my podcast, The Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. Lots of recipes, culinary stories, travels, and more from my Gourmand World award-winning book series and blog, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. I can officially be called a Philadelphia Italian market baby. You see, I was inspired early on at the age of 4 by my shopping trips to the Italian market in Philly with my grandfather to get fresh breads, cheeses, pasta, vegetables, and fruits for our large, unforgettably flavorful Sunday dinners. Fast forward to a trip to Italy for my modeling career that became a 20-year life-changing experience that included learning old world winemaking, cheesemaking at my family's vineyards and farm, studying the culinary arts, truffle hunting, having my portrait done by a famous Italian artist, working with some remarkable Italian chefs, doing culinary programs at some of Italy's most beautiful resorts and vineyards, creating my book series and trademark, appearing on Italian TV, and having my blog about Mozart featured in the National Museum of Vienna, Austria. And my 300,000 blog subscribers can attest to all this. I'm looking forward to having you as a special guest during my podcast with other interesting, fun, and entertaining special guests where we will be making a connection through food to art, travel, and life. Hope to see you then. Sizzle in the kitchen with me and my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Unleash your inner chef and transform your meals into Italian masterpieces. Get your copy today of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Holidays and Special Occasions, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci Style, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. And taste the passion of Italy. You can get your copies on Amazon.com, at marialiberati.com, at artoflivingprimamedia.com, on Kindle, and anywhere books are sold. Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, this week, my special guest is going to help us to determine the quality of your wine, or how to tell a good quality wine. And it's not really just about price. So stay with me as we're going to talk to Matthew, who is a wine expert. But I did want to share some interesting history about the day that we just celebrated, April Fool's Day. I guess you could call it celebrated. April 1st is April Fool's Day. And it does have an interesting history that I wanted to share with you before we got started. So April Fool's Day, as mentioned, does have a really fascinating and somewhat of a mysterious history. One popular theory traces the origins of April Fool's Day to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And those who continued to celebrate the new year around April 1st, as per the Julian calendar, were mocked and called April Fools. Some historians link the day to the Roman festival of Hilaria, celebrated at the end of March. And this festival involved disguises, jokes, and general merriment. Then there's medieval traditions. In Scotland, April Fool's Day evolved into a 2-day event. The first day, called Hunting the Gawk, involved sending people on foolish errands, while the second day, Taily Day, featured pranks like pinning fake tails or kick me signs on people. In France, the day is known as Poisson d'Avril, which means April fish, where children stick paper fish on others' backs as a prank. This tradition symbolizes a gullible person, much like a fish easily caught. Over time, April Fool's Day became a global tradition with newspapers, brands, and individuals participating in elaborate hoaxes. There was a famous prank which happened on the BBC in 1957 called the Spaghetti Tree Hoax, which convinced viewers that spaghetti grew on trees. The exact origins of April Fool's Day remains kind of unclear, but the day has certainly evolved into a celebration of humor and creativity. So, what did you do for April 1st, April Fool's Day? Did you pull any pranks on anyone? If you did, please share them on social media and hashtag the Maria Liberati Show. Love to hear about them. And I just wanted to remind everyone that on this Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th, I will be at the Bucks Country Gardens at 1:30 each day, and I will be doing, and actually Bucks Country Gardens is in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I will be doing on Saturday a cooking demo using edible flowers, and on Sunday I'll be doing a cooking demo with edible herbs, and there will be sampling, and you're going to get some recipe cards also. The events are 1:30 to about 2:15, and they're both days, and they're free and open to the public. And if you have any questions, you can look up Bucks Country Gardens in Doylestown, Pennsylvania on the internet. And before we get into the interview, I just wanted to mention that I'm sure you all know that Mother's Day is coming up in May, and we're doing our annual Mother's Day guide. And I am just having a lot of fun researching and testing out products for the Mother's Day guide, because we like to put in products there that we can recommend, and the companies do send us products to review. But I do have a lot of fun, I must admit, trying out some of the products I've never heard of, and some are really interesting, really great products. So they're products that I would recommend to my audience to try. And let's see, I do want to mention some of the products. I'll be mentioning the products on up until Mother's Day, and you'll see me with some of the products on my Instagram account at marialiberati.com. We will also be releasing a Mother's Day guide that you'll see at the marialiberati.show.com. So you'll be able to find these products on our Mother's Day guides, and we will have more than one starting this week. But the first products I wanted to just give a mention to and a shout out, which I love. Cambio is a really great coffee brand that I've discovered, and I drink decaf, and this is just such a great smooth decaf. So I love the K-cups that they have, and I have been enjoying the samples they sent me to test out. It's really great. It's not bitter like sometimes decaf coffee is. So that's Cambio, and they do have regular coffee also. The next product that I've gotten to try out, it's really interesting. It's called Dr. Louie Skincare, and it's this all-in-one skincare product. It has a serum, a toner, and skincare all in one, so you don't have to use a whole lot of products. And I just love it. I've been using it for about a week, just trying it out, and I can tell it really makes a difference. So that's Dr. Louie Skincare. And the next product, which is really a beautiful product, it's from a company called Jamie Sly, Slye, and it's a Phoebe hat, Phoebe hat. In the color is called Silver Belly. So I'll be showing you this on my Instagram account, but this hat is made by one of the oldest hat makers that are still around. And the hats are sourced with super high quality materials, perfect for traveling, and it's super lightweight. So it's made of a super lightweight wool, which you can wear any time of the year, which is great. So it's not just for winter. It's a super light wool, and it's really comfortable to wear. Really great for traveling. So that's Jamie Sly. And as I mentioned, you'll find that in the Mother's Day guide. And also you'll find it on Instagram. I'll be wearing that. The next product is one of my favorites. It's by Moen, M-O-E-N. Who doesn't know Moen from their kitchen and bath products? And this is the Motion Sense Wave. It's a hands-free kitchen faucet. Mom would really love this. I know I did. We got to try it out, had it installed in my test kitchen, and it is just wonderful. You just wave your hand in front of it, and it's touchless, so it's great to keep clean also. But I don't think there's a mom out there that would not love the Motion Sense Wave hands-free kitchen faucet. And here's a fun product from Aaron's, who does make slime, but they make a buttery slime and thinking putty. So if you don't know what thinking putty is, you'll see it on our Mother's Day guide, and we'll probably show it to you on my Instagram account. And another product is from Antennas Direct. It's the Clear Stream Eclipse antenna and the Mohu, M-O-H-U leaf. So these are products that will allow you to cut the cable from, your cable company. You don't have to have a subscription. So you can give these to Mom. She can get loads of channels. And with these devices, really easy to install. I tried it on one of our televisions in the office, and they work great. You get loads of channels. You don't have to have cable TV, which is getting extremely expensive now. So, it's definitely also a great gift for Mom. Cloud Nola also is a beautiful housewares company. And you'll see some of these products on our Mother's Day guide and the Instagram account, but they have this beautiful bubble vase and a tip-top glass bowl and the double insulated glass collection. So these are also beautiful products for Mother's Day. And I know I mentioned Dr. Louis Skincare, but I just want to tell you that that's a great product for any mom. And this product is kind of not necessarily a gift for Mom, but jammies, which are made from sunflower seed butter and made with strawberry and grape jelly. They're great for Mom if she needs to have a quick, healthy snack for the kids. So that's jammies. They're made with sunflower seed butter, and you can try them with strawberry jelly or grape jelly. So there's my picks for this week. And as mentioned, they will be in the Mother's Day guide that are coming up. There will be more than one. And also, you'll get to see them on my Instagram account. So please let us know if you get to try any of these products and if you like them also, or what you think. And please share your opinion. We'd love to see, hear about your opinion also. Hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, or you can also share it in the comments section of the podcast, the Maria Liberati Show, or the blog, the marialiberatishow.com. So today my special guest is Matthew from a company called Vino Voss. And wine is a popular topic on my show. And today, Matthew is going to give us some tips on how to tell the quality of your wine, right, Matthew?
That's correct.
Great. So you were starting to tell me something about you have 5 different tips or something people can use. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I think there's a double whammy with wine in that
Ah,
it's confusing and
uh-huh.
it's also intimidating. So
Yes.
sometimes we're not sure about it. We feel bad about telling other people that we don't know.
Yes.
So I think a lot of us in that situation tend to rely on price as a way
Uh-huh.
of finding something good. We
Yes.
feel that if we spend more, we get more.
Mm-hmm.
And today I'm going to go through 5 aspects in wine that can help you judge the quality of wine, because that might help you find some crossover points where there are lots of factors that influence wine price.
Uh-huh.
And one of those, for example, might be the size of the area where the wine comes from.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to mention two wine regions that produce very similar styles,
Uh-huh.
but are sold at very different price points. So those two wines are Côte de Rhône and Châteauneuf de Pape.
Uh-huh.
Côte de Rhône usually sells for about $12 to $20, and Châteauneuf de Pape for about $45 to $80 a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that is the area of Côte de Rhône is more than 10 times the size of Châteauneuf de Pape.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more of it, but there's sometimes often a crossover sweet spot where sometimes a good Côte de Rhône
Uh-huh.
better than a bad Châteauneuf de Pape. So if you can start understanding quality, and we'll help you with that today, you
Right.
can find a crossover point where you can find good quality wine without having to pay more for it. And
Exactly.
in the current climate where it feels like we're having to pay more for everything,
Yeah.
it'll be great to be able to treat yourself with a wine you can truly enjoy
Right.
without having to take too much, having your wallet taking a hit for it.
Exactly. And I just want to mention, so it sounds like what I'm thinking, it doesn't necessarily mean that the more expensive it is, the better quality it is, correct? It
That's
doesn't
correct.
necessarily mean that.
There's a relationship between price and quality,
Uh-huh.
but it's an indirect relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always get more when you spend more.
You spend more. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I
So,
assume. So yes, so tell us the tips you were going, the 5 tips or 5 ways of.
so the 5 things that we're going to look at
Yes.
are faults. That's number one.
Uh-huh.
Number two is intensity.
Uh-huh.
Number three is balance. Number four is complexity,
Uh-huh.
and number five is typicity.
Uh-huh.
So we'll start with number one, which are faults.
Uh-huh.
Now, these days you don't have to worry about faults so much.
Uh-huh.
Our technical understanding of wine and winemaking is better than it's ever been.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of effort goes into making sure the wine reaches you exactly as the winemaker intended. But
Yes.
we all know that sometimes things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So this is sort of what happens if you open a bottle and it's terrible. There
Yes.
might be a fault with the product.
Yes.
So there are 2 types of faults that we can think about, and
Uh,
we'll just call it big faults or little faults.
hmm?
Big faults are always a problem.
Yes.
Little faults, they're sometimes a problem, sometimes they're fixable,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're less of a problem. So the big faults often occur in locations where a wine is either being opened
Uh-huh.
or might already be open. So a lot of the time in a restaurant scenario, that's a big fault situation
Uh-huh.
because something could be wrong with the wine, or
Mm-hmm.
something perhaps has gone wrong with the wine because it's been open and sitting in the bar for a few days. Um, and the major big faults are cork taint. That's sometimes when a wine smells a little bit like wet cardboard, or
Uh-huh.
your cellar if it's a little bit damp. And that usually gets discovered when you first open a bottle.
Uh-huh.
And that means you shouldn't drink it. It's not going to hurt you if you do. It's
Uh-huh.
nothing harmful with the corked wine. It's just it's not pleasurable to drink.
Right.
And you shouldn't have to worry about it. Like if this does happen to you at a restaurant,
Uh-huh.
you shouldn't need to worry about it because your server should take it back and either bring you another bottle
Right.
or help you find a different wine. And if it happens to you at home, you should be able to put the cork back in the bottle with the screw cap back on the top, take it back to the place where you bought it, along with your receipt, and get a
Exactly.
refund for it.
Exactly. Definitely. Because as we mentioned, things are so expensive now that you really can't waste, the money. So yes, if you find a bottle of wine and you're able to return it, you have your receipt, definitely return it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the second big fault is oxidation.
Uh-huh.
And that's just something that happens when a wine gets exposed to air.
Uh,
And it can either happen to it just a little bit, or it can happen a lot, depending on how long the wine's been open for. So when a wine is a little oxidized, it begins to be less flavorsome. So if you imagine a wine which is usually full of flavor, think of White Zinfandel with
uh-huh.
that sort of juicy watermelon flavor that it has. If it's slightly oxidized, it might taste more like drinking water. That powerful flavor that you're expecting just isn't there,
Yes.
or it's a little underwhelming. That's a sign that it may be oxidized.
Uh-huh.
And a wine that's heavily oxidized, perhaps it's been open for a long time, will begin to resemble vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be acidic and sharp and unpleasant.
Ah.
So again, it's if you have that situation, you should be able to call your server and have it sent back, or
Mm-hmm.
take it back to the place where you brought it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you do have an oxidized wine, you want to return it to a retailer,
Uh-huh.
it's best to do it as quickly as you can.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, they might say, look, it took you 5 days to bring this back after you opened it. It's
Yes.
going to oxidize in that time. It's harder to prove your case. So the sooner you can return it, the better.
Yes.
But most retailers, they're not going to argue with you because they understand.
Yes.
Uh, and then there are smaller faults like volatile acidity or Brettanomyces. These occur during winemaking production,
Mm-hmm.
and in some cases, they're part of the style of certain wines.
Mm-hmm.
Volatile acidity, which smells like nail polish remover, acetone, is common in the Italian wine Amarone, so wines made with dried grapes. So certain styles of sweet wines will also have a little hint of nail polish remover to them, and
Yes.
that can be considered normal. But if you were to find it in a sparkling wine, it would be abnormal.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's why it's a little fault because it depends on the context.
Huh?
But when you find it in situations where the level is particularly high,
Mm-hmm.
or in situations where you wouldn't expect it because of the wine style,
Huh?
you do exactly the same as you would with any other faulty wine.
Mm-hmm.
You call your server over and you ask them to take it back,
Uh-huh.
or you return it to your retailer.
Good idea. Definitely. Definitely.
So hopefully you're not going to encounter or find yourself in many situations where that's necessary.
Right.
But there's some of the faults to look for,
Yes.
and then how you need to handle them if you do. And the second indicator of quality, and this is where judging quality in wine really begins,
Mm-hmm.
is with intensity.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes this might be referred to as concentration as well. Some people refer to intensity as what we smell, so how strong the aroma of something is.
Yeah.
And then concentration is almost how strong the flavor of it is when we're drinking it, when it's
Oh,
on the tongue.
yes. Uh-huh.
And sometimes wines can differ. So there might be some styles of wine that smell very fruity on the nose,
Uh-huh.
but aren't as concentrated on the palate.
Uh, uh-huh.
And that's sometimes a sign of lower quality. So there may be some wines, like an example might be Yellowtail from Australia that people know.
Yes. Yes.
Very fruity, rich, jammy noses,
Uh-huh.
but not quite the same concentration on the palate.
Mm-hmm.
So generally a high level of intensity and a high level of concentration are indicators of higher quality. And it's a secondary confirmation is when you've got a matching level of concentration and intensity. So it tastes like it smells.
Mm-hmm.
There's that continuity which flows through the wine.
Yes.
And in addition to intensity, another aspect is how long that flavor lasts for.
Uh-huh.
So people refer to that in wine sometimes as the length. And with a higher quality wine, the taste lasts for longer.
Uh-huh.
So imagine chewing gum, which is, I think, something most people have used at one point in their lives.
Yes.
When you first get two pieces, it's full of flavor.
Yes.
But the flavor quickly begins to dissipate. It's a little bit like that, where a lower quality wine, that flavor seems to dissipate faster. With a higher quality wine, it lasts for a longer period of time.
And that's the same with gum too. If you get a really cheap gum and it just like the flavor's done in like a couple of seconds, you're absolutely, so I guess it's a little similar. Obviously you're talking about a higher end product in wine, but yes, exactly.
I'm sure it's something everyone can relate to, because we've all had that disappointment when that flavor in the chewing gum begins to fade.
Yes, exactly.
And the third part is balance. And that's really about how all the different parts of wine mesh together.
Uh-huh.
So wines can be sweet. There's also acidity. There can be tannin. There can be weight. Some wines are very light. Some wines are rich. And it's how all those things combine. And the best way to think about it is, if you've ever made lasagna, it's made in layers.
Yeah.
How you'll put down a sheet of pasta and how you'll add a red sauce and then a white sauce and then another sheet of pasta. Sometimes all the elements in wine appear a little bit like that. It's you can see them in layers. It's like they've stacked them all up. But then you can try a different wine, and everything seems to mesh together into one experience, and you can't see the individual layers. So when you're trying the wine, say, does anything stick out? So you don't want anything to stick out too much. So imagine you went somewhere for dinner and they made a dish, but they put too much chili in it.
Right.
That would stick out and burn. So the first thing is you don't want anything to be too obvious. But then, does it appear like everything's stacked up in layers and you can pick it apart? Or does everything just mesh together seamlessly? And that lasagna thought, it's something which everyone's probably made. If not, they've probably eaten it at one point or another.
Yes.
And it's just a good reference point to go back to.
Yes.
To say, how does everything come together in this wine?
In this wine, yes, definitely.
And the fourth element is complexity. So wine complexity can involve taste and flavor, or it can involve texture. So it's not just one thing. But in wine, there tends to be flavor comes from three different places. So it's just like school. They get it called primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Right.
Unlike school, it's much more fun to explore them.
Right.
The primary flavors all come from the grape. And they're often those fruity, floral, vegetal flavors that we often talk about in wine.
Yes.
So when people say this wine tastes like apples and lemons, or blackberries and plums, they're all grape-derived flavors. Secondary flavors are flavors that the winemaker's chosen to add. And that might come from aging a wine in a barrel, where the wine takes on flavor from the wood. So you can imagine a sweet vanilla character like you might get in bourbon, which is also aged in oak barrels.
Right.
That's often an oak-derived flavor. Or they could age the wine on the yeast that was used to ferment it, which can give it a bready, brioche, biscuity character, which you often find in champagne.
Right.
So do you have flavors which don't just come from the grape? Has the winemaker added some? And then you have tertiary flavors, and they're flavors that come from maturation, usually in the bottle. So they're flavors which are not fresh fruit. They're generally things that are quite savory. So it could be dried fruit like prunes,
Huh?
it could be tobacco, leather,
Uh-huh.
game. Game, it's a little bit like jerky.
Yes.
And they're tertiary flavors. So if you can get flavors that are coming from each spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
you have a more complex wine.
Right.
And that's just, am I getting things from the grape? Am I getting things from the winemaker? Am I getting things from time?
Right.
And a wine is usually at its peak when you've got all three,
Uh-huh.
because your fruity flavors begin to fade over time.
Uh-huh.
So it's at its best when you get all the elements together.
Mm-hmm.
And the last element is typicity.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes this might be referred to as transcendence.
Right.
And some typicity is really how good an example of X is this. So if you pick up a glass and you smell it and it reminds you instantly of the grape variety, you
Right.
could say it's highly typical of that variety.
Uh-huh.
And it's a really good example. And sometimes people might, I think this happens most often to lovers of Pinot Noir when they drink Burgundy. You
Right.
pick up the glass and you smell it, and you don't even think it's Pinot Noir first. You immediately think of the place.
Right.
And that's when it's so typical, you say it's transcendent. You don't even think about what grape it is. You go straight to where the wine is from. And if a wine is able to communicate what it is that effectively to you,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually a sign that it's well made. It's a really good example of what it's trying to be,
Uh-huh.
and is likely to be of high quality.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, I mean, they're all definitely good ways to judge the quality of a wine, but to really, I guess, know how to experience all of those five qualities, you have to have a little bit of experience with tasting wine. And I think it's really a good thing for people to, get out there if they really are interested in wine and try a variety of wines, right? So then they'll be able to start, differing. Oh, yeah, this is good quality, or this has certain qualities, just as you're saying. You're able to then differentiate more so if you experience more, different types of wine, right?
Yes, and a good thing might be to go to a wine shop that you've been to before.
Yes.
Maybe you've brought something that you've liked or you trust them, and just say, look, I'd like to learn more about quality. And some wine regions actually have a quality hierarchy within them.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
So you can buy a good wine, a very good wine,
Yes,
and they can be made from the same grape variety. So it's an easier point of contrast because the
exactly.
grape isn't a factor. And you can take them home and try them side by side.
Yes.
So you're not trying to guess what quality level is this. You sort of know already, but you're trying to look at the aspects to see how it reflects that quality.
Right. And kind of understand with the taste, the quality of the wine. Definitely. Wow.
So you could go through these things that we've talked about today, like first saying, is this free of any fault?
Yes.
There
Yes.
aren't any big faults. It's not corked or oxidized. There's no small faults here either.
Exactly.
What's the intensity and the length like?
Exactly.
Is it in balance?
Huh?
Is this showing more or less complexity? And is it how typical of the variety and region are these wines?
E-
And that's a great way to hone your understanding of quality.
Exactly.
And starting with grapes that you know you like already is
Hmm.
probably the best
The
starting
best
point
way.
because
Yes.
it eliminates any bias that you
Exactly.
might have. And
Exactly.
then you can branch out to other grape varieties
Right.
um, and learn from there. But it's quite innate.
Hmm.
As we come, humans are descended from hunters and gatherers,
Hmm.
and we have this innate sense of things which are good to eat and things which are not.
Right, exactly.
So you're sort of, there's years of evolution that's gone into biologically hardwiring you to understand quality.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need too much practice to actually knock the dust off that skill, which is already there within you,
Exactly.
and hone it till it's a lot sharper than you'd imagine it would ever
And you
be.
exactly, definitely. All great information, Matthew. Thank you so much, Matthew from Vino Voss. We're just about out of time, but thank you so much for all those tips and helping us determine the quality of wine, so we know what to choose and go back to when we're looking for a great wine.
You're very welcome, and I hope it helps some of your listeners find the next thing that they're going to enjoy.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thanks again, Matthew. Thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care.
Embark on a culinary journey with me and my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Discover the secrets to authentic Italian dishes that will wow your family and friends. Bring the essence of Italy to your table. Grab your copy of The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, Holidays and Special Occasions, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking Da Vinci Style, and The Basic Art of Italian Cooking at Amazon.com and anywhere books are sold, along with MariaLiberati.com and ArtOfLivingPrimaMedia.com. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to this week's special guest. And don't forget to look for the products, my picks for this week for the Mother's Day guide. That was the Cambio coffee, the K-Cups coffee, and Dr. Louie skincare, Jamie Sly Phoebe hat, Aaron's slime and thinking putty, the Motion Sense Wave hands-free kitchen faucet, Antennas Direct, Clearstream Eclipse, and the Mohu leaf, and the jammies. You'll get to see these products again in my Mother's Day guide and on Instagram. And again, I want to mention I will be at the Bucks Country Gardens in Doylestown on Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th, doing a cooking demo with edible flowers and edible herbs, and there will be samples. So please join us at the Bucks Country Gardens. That's 1:30 in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, 1:30 each day. Each cooking demo is about 45 minutes. So if you have a little time to spare on Saturday or Sunday, please come out and join us. And please say hi. And I will be doing a book signing of my books there, so you can get a copy of the books there also. Hope to meet you and see you. And as always, you can find me at MariaLiberati.com, the website for this show, the MariaLiberatishow.com, and on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Vimeo at Maria Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati. And let's see, the YouTube channel is just called The Maria Liberati Show. And we're on the Binge Networks now. The show, my show, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, is there also. And until next week, I just want to mention too, you can find my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at artoflivingprimamedia.com, which is the publisher's website. You can find the books on Amazon, on Kindle, on Barnes & Noble, and really anywhere books are sold. And until next week, peace, love, and pasta.